No matter who you think the best esports player or team of all time is, their stories can't be told without an opponent that regularly pushed them to the brink and showcased each other's skills in the process. Throughout esports history, rivalries have been the driving force that propelled player skill to unthinkable heights, as gods of the games challenged each other on the server. Whether there was deep respect or loud beef outside the game, these opponents needed each other to entrench their story in esports history as esports' biggest rivalries. This is our humble selection, so let us know what you think of our choices in the comments down below. A deep-seated rivalry which emerged as early as 2013 starts off our biggest rivalries in esports. Both Optic and Faze have been the leading names in the Call of Duty scene, begging the question of who the better organisation was each time they met. Not only the competition on the server, but also the battle for fame and clout that propelled this rivalry to be one of the loudest in esports history. During their peak, both teams were considered to be the best Call of Duty organisations in the world. This meant that they almost always matched up against each other, which was massively exciting for fans, giving a stage to some of esports' most beloved characters, such as Scump, Clayster, Formal, Karma, and more. While the pair face off much less nowadays, many players still have fond memories of their epic showdowns at MLG. To this day, the teams can be found facing off in the Call of Duty League under their franchise names, Atlanta Faze and Optic Chicago. Whether or not that scratches the same itch it once did, that's for you to decide. Not every rivalry starts out as competitors being opponents. For Fly and NoTail, going back in history now more than a decade, their rivalry was grounded in companionship. Having played the MOBA Heroes of New Earth together for Fnatic, and eventually transitioning to Dota 2 for the same organisation, the duo and their team were struggling to find a breakout performance. Leaving Fnatic, the duo now took to rebuilding a new team from scratch, eventually forming OG, an organisation that would turn out to be one of Dota 2's most legendary organisations. Together, Fly and NoTail would go on to win the first ever Dota 2 major in 2015, defying the odds in a lower bracket run. While disappointing at the International in 2016 and 2017, the duo stuck it out, winning 4 major international titles together during this time period. Then, shortly before the International in 2018, Fly suddenly announced that he would be transferring to Evil Geniuses, a direct competitor to NoTail's OG for the title. As fate willed it, Evil Geniuses would be drawn into OG's group, and Fly would initially be validated, beating NoTail's OG in a clean 2-0. Narrowly making it out of the groups as the bottom seed, OG fought hard for their revenge, found an opportunity in the upper bracket semi-finals. In a 53-minute long bloodbath, NoTail would prevail in the deciding third game, sending Evil Geniuses to the lower bracket, which they never recovered from. As Fly had to watch from the sidelines, he was forced to confront the weight of his decision of leaving OG, bearing witness to NoTail lifting his first, the international trophy. In a Groundhog Day moment, Fly was forced to relive the same scenario as it would play out almost the same way at the International 9, with OG once again meeting Evil Geniuses in playoffs and knocking them to the lower bracket, while OG went on to become the international champion once more, making it one of esports' best teaching moments about companionship and a rivalry that persists to this day. Since 2016, it's been impossible to talk about European League of Legends without mentioning both G2 and Fnatic. Before this time, it seemed Fnatic had almost been begging for a worthy rival, winning every European split except one since 2013, with rapidly switching opposition that just never flourished into a real rivalry. With a rather rocky start through the EU Challenger Series, eventually G2 Esports found themselves a championship-winning roster and dominated Europe for 2 years, with Fnatic regularly chasing them but never getting to play G2 in the finals of an EU LCS match. The rivalry really kicked into overdrive once Fnatic showed that they were still capable of winning domestic titles by winning both splits in 2018. While G2 came back in the years afterwards, the streak of one of these two teams having won every single European title since 2015 has just recently been broken by Mad Lions. Beyond just domestic back and forths though, this rivalry arguably almost single-handedly allowed these teams to reach new heights, elevating the level of European teams to the point that they were able to take serious shots at the World Championship title ever since 2018, with both of them making appearances in the Grand Finals once respectively. The rivalry became even more personal when longtime Fnatic AD carry Rekkles made the switch to G2 Esports in November 2020. It was a legendary moment in League history about which literal songs have been made. These two iconic players define the StarCraft scene. Even after years of competitive play, fans still can't get enough of Jaedong and Flash. These two players have been facing off since 2007, where the pair quickly established themselves as the best players in esports. During any other time in Brood War history, a player of the skill level of Jaedong would have likely dominated the competition to the point of earning the fabled title of Bon Joueur, a name given to a player who was unquestionably the best player during that era. However, while often playing on eye level, many consider Jaedong to have been gatekept from that title via Flash's era of dominance, never allowing the Zerg player to clearly distinguish himself, while Flash often was. Flash's excellence appeared to have transcended even the Bon Joueur title, as he was commonly referred to as God, and his performances are to this day considered some of the highest peaks of any player in any esports ever. While it might look cynical on the surface to frame a rivalry around the named sponsors of two esports organisations, the rich and deep history of the Telecom Wars is an inevitable rivalry. Spanning more than a decade and even over different games, each match of SK Telecom versus KT Rolster contributed to the meaningful head-to-head of this now legendary matchup that gave rise to some of the most renowned esports professionals of all time, and arguably lifted esports as a whole to a new level. Kicking off in 2004 with StarCraft Brood War legend Boxer, SK Telecom T1 stepped onto the scene. The South Korean phenomenon of playing video games for a living travelled the globe, and Slayer's Boxer became indivisible from the movement. As every champion requires a worthwhile rival, KT Rolster's Yellow became Boxer's greatest opposition, though regularly falling short of getting himself a major tournament victory. Later on, the team-based competition in Pro League, hosted on cable TV, became another battlefield for this epic rivalry. Only with the emergence of arguably the best StarCraft Brood War player of all time, Flash, did KT eventually find success and managed to get back at their rivals in both the 2009-2010 and 2010-2011 Shinan Banned Pro League. With the birth of League of Legends as an esport that would be seen as the pinnacle of esports to this day, the two historic teams couldn't resist, and by summer 2013, both teams had established themselves as the leading South Korean League of Legends teams and played each other in the summer finals. The result was one of the most memorable outplays in esports history around the mid laners, making the global esports community aware of someone who was destined to be one of esports' biggest stars. Lee Faker sang he up. Hurt by large setbacks and mass departures, KT Rolster became a shadow of their former selves, and the Telecom Wars were put on ice until 2015. SKT T1 dominated League of Legends for a majority of that era, but KT notably managed to fight back once more with a new roster to reverse sweep SKT. By 2016, KT Rolster as an org had decided that they'd had enough of playing in T1's shadow and assembled a star-studded roster with some of the best players on the market. While initially unsuccessful in turning the tide of the Telecom Wars, KT Rolster took their chance in the 2018 Spring Split, denying a struggling T1 participation at Mid-Season Invitational. But honestly, ever since then, the rivalry has lost some of its spark, with both teams struggling to go deep in the LCK. And that's our list. Did we miss out on any of your great esports rivalries? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and follow GGRecon for all the latest esports news and views.